Very cool. All right, so we're going to start off by talking a little bit about what CFN is, okay? And we're gonna go ahead, and this is going to be the game plan for tonight's update. We're going to talk about what CFN is because a lot of you might be seeing this for the first time. Maybe someone shared it with you. Let's talk about that. We're going to go through what CFN is. We're going to show how you can earn with CFN, okay? Then we're going to get into a Q&A. So if you guys have questions, make sure you write them down as we're going through this because we will have an extensive Q&A at the end of this. And then we're going to get some action steps on how to get started and actually being able to utilize CFN, go out there and grow an income online and help save lives, okay? So for those of you, I know a lot of people in here are up group members and you're working with CFN. So if you guys are ready to get started, ready to kick this off, just give me a hoorah in the chat. Let me know we're ready to go and we shall kick this bad boy off. And we're going to start off with what CFN is. All right, so CareFree Now. For those of you who don't know, if you're new, if you haven't seen this, this is CareFree Now right here. And CareFree Now is what we're doing here with CareFree Now is over the next 12 months, and this is very important, all right? Over the next 12 months, CFN will change how people access healthcare, all right? How healthcare is accessed online. And let me just emphasize why this is important, okay? Because over the last couple of years, you've seen a lot of things change, right? You've seen how you access information. That's changed, hasn't it? You've seen how you get your news. Most of you get your news from social media and not from CNN, right? It's changed. How you get information. If you need to know something, you go to Google. You don't go to a library and try to sift through books anymore. If you want to shop, you go to Amazon, don't you? Whereas a decade ago, you were going to the local store. Right? Now everything's ordered online. How you learn has changed, hasn't it? Most people would rather buy a course from somebody who's doing the action that they want to learn about than go to a college, okay? Let me know. Give me a 1 in the chat, guys, if this makes sense. All right, everything else has changed, but if you took somebody from the 1800s and plopped them right now into this world, right, and gave them a cell phone and they saw planes flying around, they would be amazed at what's going on. And two things have not changed for them. Two things, they would say, this is amazing, but two things haven't changed. One, if I go to a classroom, it's still the same. Two, if I go access healthcare, it's still the same. I've got to get up, drive to a doctor, sit in a waiting line, right? It's still the same. So we're about to change that. And I'm going to show you one specific way we're doing this. I can't share every single way we're doing this with CFN, but I can show you one particular way and one that's going to be the topic of conversation tonight. So one way that CFN is doing this is they're changing the game with no cost to the patient genetic cancer screening, right? Cancer genetic screening, CGX for short. Now, who qualifies for this? Okay, who qualifies for this? Medicare recipients, all right? Now, I want you guys to give me a number in the chat because how many people do you think in the United States are on Medicare right now that can benefit from this? Just this one portion. Give me a number in the chat. Tell me how many people you think are there. We got a lot, yeah, hundreds of, yeah, you guys are throwing out some big numbers. A lot of people. Look, here's the reality, okay? According to AARP, currently 44 million beneficiaries are in the United States. Some 15% of the U.S. population are enrolled in Medicare program, and that enrollment is expected to rise to 79 million by 2030. Here's the deal. That is a very big audience. That is a lot of people that you can go out there and help, would you say? Give me a 1 in the chat if you think that there's a lot of people out there that can benefit from this. So here's how we do this. Here's how this works. What we do with CareFree Now is we give away the no-cost genetic cancer screening tests, and for those of you who are in Up Group, you get paid to do it. Here's what that process looks like, and we're going to delve deep into this process tonight, but here's what it looks like on the front end. You send somebody over to CareFree Now. They get to CareFree Now through your link. What happens is the patient goes ahead and they hit a Start Here tab, okay? And they watch a short video that walks them through the back office and how they can go ahead and get access to everything that's offered in CareFree Now. They fill out a personal information survey. They put in their personal information, and then it's going to tell them what they qualify for. And if they qualify for CGX, they'll be able to fill out that information. And from there, what happens is they actually get a CGX kit will actually end up being shipped to them. But CFN is a lot more than this, and Hitesh is going to walk you through exactly how that process works, but CFN is more than just CGX. So for those of you who want to know a little bit more about what it does from a 10,000-foot view, just by them filling out that profile, guys, what they also get access to is DME, durable medical equipment. They also can get access to PGX testing as well as time goes by, RTW, righting the wrongs, and they can get access to different supplements that they may qualify for. So these are all things that are built into CareFree Now. What we're going to focus on tonight is the CGX portion, but understand just what we're talking about tonight is just the tip of the iceberg. And so I want to tell you a little bit about how you get paid with this, because that's what a lot of people are here, right? To change lives and get paid doing it, right? Give me a 1 if that's you, right? You want to change some lives, you want to help save some people, and you want to go ahead and see how you can get paid for it. Well, here's what it comes down to. Because if you guys are serious about doing this and serious about helping people get their hands on these kits and get paid to do it and be a part of CareFree Now where we get to go ahead and change the healthcare, then what I really need from you before I even show you this is I need to know if you're committed to doing this, if this is something you're committed to doing, helping people get their hands on these testings. Because if you're committed to doing that and saving lives, if that's what you're here for, then the byproduct of doing that is growing an income. So if you guys are committed to do that and you're gonna lock arms with us and help save some lives, here is what the earning potential is. And I see everyone in here in the chat. It's awesome to see you guys going nuts over this because it really is a good cause. And I want to tell you that, you guys might hear me say this every so often, okay? How you make money, okay, is more important than how much money you make. All right, I'm going to show you some big numbers and some potentials, but how you make money is 10 times more important than how much money you make. All right. So if you want to grow an income by saving lives, then this is the place for you. So let's go ahead and let me show you just a little chart. And this is just a hypothetical example of what is possible with just CGX testing. All right. The marketing contributions that you can get for CGX testing. If you had one person, hypothetically, go ahead and receive a CGX kit a week. One person, if you had one person go through a week, that's $350. Okay, that's $1,400 a month. Who here on this webinar right now, who here, could that change your life while you're saving a life? Just $1,400 a month. Could that help you? If you did that, if you did one test every day for 30 days, okay, that's $10,500 in potential earning a month, okay? I'm sure that would change your life. If you did one a day for every year, you buckled down, you doubled down on this, and this is all you really focused on, and you did one a day for the next year, that's $127,000. This is just CGX. We're not talking about PGX, TORT, or any of the other things that we discussed. This is just talking about CGX numbers. It is insane, all right? Yes, Larry, the earning potential is even bigger than this, okay? So what I want to do, though, is I want to walk you guys through CFN because there's been a lot of changes in this space. There's been a lot of changes to what we do on CFN, how the flow works, and it will always be that way because, again, it is a big job to do this right here, okay, to change the medical space, to change how people access their healthcare. That's a big job, all right, and we're up to that challenge. And if you're up to that challenge, give me a 1. Let me see those one more time, and I want to go ahead and turn this on over to Hitesh so he can walk you guys through some of the changes that have happened on CFN and how you're able to go ahead and walk, go through how your patients will go through and what to expect at every step along the way. So I'm going to go ahead and see if Hitesh is out. And this, for those guys who haven't seen Hitesh, this is him right here. It's my business partner, one of my best buds in the world, and Dr. Rose will be out here in a little bit as well, and he'll walk you guys through. So Hitesh, my friend, are you there and can you hear us?
Here, and I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I gotcha. Guys, is Hitesh coming in loud and clear? Let me know if you guys can hear him loud and clear.
Yes, please, in Kevin style, please type 1 if you can hear me.
Very cool. You got to turn up the volume just a little bit.
I think that might be actually in settings here. So let's see. Okay, how about now? Is that better?
Oh, there we go. That's better, right, guys? All right. Yeah, much better, much better.
Okay, wonderful.
Well, first of all, I do want to clarify. He said one of the best buds in the world. As far as I know, Kevin only has one friend, so I don't know what that means.
I have an imaginary friend as well.
All right, guys. Well, let's talk about the important stuff, though. So, ladies, gentlemen, and Kevin, let's talk about CareFree Now and this huge, big deal that we are trying to accomplish, which is changing how healthcare works. And all of the stuff that Kevin has talked about and how the healthcare hasn't changed at all is very, very true. But more than that, you know what? I'm getting a lot of messages saying that they're still having a tough time hearing me. So
we got you now. We got you now, buddy. We can hear you. It got better.
Okay. All right. There we go. All right. So one of the key things about this, though, is it's not quite as simple as just, making up a nice sounding slogan and then saying, let's go change healthcare. There's actually a lot of stuff that happens in the background. And that's one of the things that we need you to understand and go over on this particular webinar tonight. So let me go ahead and take over the screen share. And if everyone can see my screen, please go ahead and type 1. Perfect. All right, guys. So I'm going to actually walk you through an example of what happens when you refer somebody to CFN. Okay, and then we're going to go from there to a whole bunch of other things that are happening in the background to make this whole thing work. So they are going to be referred in. They're going to create their account, and this is exactly what they are going to access. They're going to come in here, just like Kevin showed you, and they will have this profile to fill in. In this profile, they're going to provide us with some personal information, which is their date of birth, their name, so on and so forth. It's also going to ask them for some of their coverage information, whether they're on Medicare, whether they have private insurance. As you can see, we have practically every insurance that exists built into the system. And then they will give us a list of their symptoms if they have any, as well as some basic medical information. And this is where the actual magic begins to happen. This, to me, is the key portion more than anything else. Because right here, based on what answers they start giving us, the system starts creating a profile for them and starts to figure out what things they will actually benefit from, right? So for example, if I come in here and say, yeah, I struggle with anxiety, I don't, but if I did, the system would now say this is somebody who would probably benefit from certain things, right? And same thing here, it'll ask me, do you have any personal history of cancer? Yes or no. Do you have family history of cancer? Yes or no. Do you know which side it's on? So on and so forth. So as this starts happening, as they complete this questionnaire, which is a pretty short questionnaire actually, the system figures out what things will be relevant for them. Okay, so it says, what it looks like based on your answers, stuff like this. It looks like you'll benefit from a PGX test. It looks like you'll benefit from a CGX test, and so on. And then it takes them straight through to the section where they will actually give very specific information about that specific test. So now we'll talk about CGX specifically again. If I was somebody who would benefit from CGX, it would now ask me some very specific questions about CGX itself. And by the way, guys, what I'm filling in right now, what I'm doing right now is literally what the patients do. And we have timed ourselves multiple times, and it takes anywhere between 3 to 7 minutes for them to complete this whole process. Okay, so they'll come in, they'll say, I have, this is my history of cancer. They'll provide the age. They will enter which type of cancer it was, or maybe they don't have any personal history. And maybe if they have family history, they'll define who in their family has had cancer at what age. Okay, pretty simple process so far, right? Does anybody have any questions so far? Does this seem like pretty simple stuff? And I would guess right now on the call right now, probably 30% of the people who are on here, you already know somebody who fits this profile right now, at least 30%. Exactly. Yep. Pretty much everybody gets it. And you guys will notice that if you've been here for a while, we've dramatically simplified this process. There are not 5 different steps they go through now. It is literally just one page. It's one page for CGX. That's it. They fill out this information, and now the system will now basically go, oh, looks like we should figure out if there are some specific indication that make you more likely. For example, if you had an unexplained loss of appetite, you might need to be expedited for this, more so than anybody else, right? So these are the kind of decisions that usually physicians make in the background when they're evaluating different patients. Now here, we simplify the job for the physician. By getting this information up front from the patient, we can now go ahead, and send that data to the right physician and say, this person is going to need help with this. Okay. Now, finally, the patient's going to come in. They're going to put their signature on here. They're going to put their name in, and you will see a message is given to them right away. And this message says that their profile will now be reviewed by a patient intake specialist, and then a consultation will be scheduled for them if applicable. What that means is there is still a chance that when a patient intake team looks through this data, they might say, you know what, you actually don't need this, or you don't really qualify for this, or this may not be beneficial for you. Okay, so in those scenarios, there is no reason to have a consultation with a physician. So when they submit this information here, they will receive a notification from CFN letting them know that now their information is being evaluated by a patient intake specialist. Okay, now let's talk about what happens in the background from this moment on, because now things change a little bit. Okay, in the background, what happens is we reach this stage called patient QIR. So everything you have just seen is the patient registration part, right? Which is pretty straightforward, pretty simple. We made it as simple as clicking a few buttons, filling out a form, and that's it, right? Now we move to the background. What happens from that moment on is we move to the patient QIR, which is quality and internal review. This is where all the data is going to be checked. Maybe they did not give their right coverage information. Maybe the insurance information they provided is not valid. Maybe some of the information and the data they gave was invalid. Whatever it may be, that's the information that we are checking for. Okay? And the very next thing that happens, if they pass this QIR, is they will receive a phone call from a physician's office. They will leave a message with them saying, hey, here is the phone number. Call us back or schedule an appointment with us, and the physician will take care of all of that process with them. Okay, so this process right here, the patient QIR process, takes anywhere from 2 to 3 days, and then the physician consult usually happens anywhere between 2 to 3 days after that as well. Okay, now interestingly enough, right here you see this little message, which is instant patient rebate is issued to elite members at this point. Okay, and we're going to come back to that in a second. And Kevin, I'll have you walk through that. I know we have some good news for some of the people who are on this call right now. So 2 to 3 days later, they receive a physician consultation. The physician actually gets on the phone with them, reviews everything, makes sure everything makes sense, makes sure that the patient understands what the CGX testing can help them with, what it cannot help them with, and so on. After this, they'll receive the kit, which is a swab kit that they'll receive in the mail, and they will have additional follow-up with different teams that will contact them to make sure they're swabbing correctly, they're following the right instructions, they're sending the swab back to the lab properly. And at that point, we consider the screening process to be completed. Now in the background, a few other things happen that really are none of our business. The lab communicates with Medicare, the lab communicates with the physician, the lab sends the test results back, and we consider this whole thing to be screening completed, which is where we issue the patient awareness bonus, which is paid to our pro and elite members, which is what Kevin referred to, which is $350 for each CGX approval. This right here, the instant patient kit rebate, is a $50 rebate that we issue to all of our elite members at this stage, even before the physician consult happens, even before there is any swabbing done, before any CGX testing is done. Okay, so right here, elite members receive a $50 rebate in their account. Pro and elite members both receive $350 at the very end. And there are some deductions here. You will see a deduction of $25 for the kit and processing cost, and a $25 cost for the administration of the exam. Okay, so the net that you will receive as a pro or elite member is going to be $300 here, but elite members receive this back as a rebate, actually get it paid early on as an instant rebate right here. Okay, does all of this make sense so far? Excellent. All the wonderful yeses. So here's what I would like to do. I would like to switch this back to Kevin real quick. And Kevin, if you can go through a few examples of patients who have passed QIR, obviously we cannot reveal patient information, but members of UP group, the agents in UP group who have referred these patients who have received the QIR bonuses, the IPR as we call it, bonuses already, that would be fantastic. And then guys, keep in mind, this is just the CGX portion. There are additional things that you can earn within CFN. And we will come to that in a second as well. So Kev, do you want to take over the screen quick?
Absolutely, absolutely. And guys, if you have questions, what I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and just jot them down real quick, and we're going to go through and answer every question that you guys have, okay? So I want to show you something real quick because this is pretty exciting. So let me know if you guys can see my screen right here. Don't drop the screen. So I want to go ahead and show you something because this is just a few of our members that have earned an IPR, the Instant Patient Rebate with CFN. So that rebate that's on the front end that they get paid, okay? They get paid before anything, before the swab goes out, before the kit gets out, okay? Just want to show you a couple of people that are on here. Now, we didn't have time to load everyone's name up. I just did a few. But if this is you, if you're on this call, let me know. So if Carol Preston's on here, if LaDonna Henson, Ella, if you're on here, Maria Davidson, Stephen Cohen, Charlene, Bertha, Lori Gay, my gal, that's my gal right there. Let me know. And also, I'll give you one more. So here's another screen right here. All right, Phyllis, if you're on here, Amber, Karen, Gabrielle, Colin Rain, Felix White, that's my dude right there. Wayne, if you're there, Guy Simmons, if you're here. I just want to say congratulations. You guys will all be getting an email on this. If you are an elite member, okay, there's going to be 2 emails going out. If you're a pro member, there's going to be 1 email going out. If you're an elite member, you're going to see another one that goes out. And here is what happens. So that IPR bonus, okay, that instant patient rebate bonus with CFN, to earn that, as Hitesh said before, and we've said on multiple webinars, you must be an elite member with UpGroup. And what we're doing is we don't want anybody to miss out on these. So what we're doing is we are back paying these. You must be an elite member before the 15th of May. That's the deadline. Okay, so if you're an elite member by then, we're going to go ahead and actually back pay those. What's up, Aurora? How are you doing? So pretty exciting stuff. And for those of you who don't know how that works, if you're not in UpGroup, okay, if you're kind of watching this and you're like, what's Kevin talking about, this elite stuff? What is he talking about? I want to show you real quick UpGroup in the back office and what I'm referring to it there, okay? So if we have anyone on here, if you're watching this replay, this is what I'm referring to. So UpGroup, this is UpGroup in the back office of UpGroup. And if you're in UpGroup, guys, give me a 1. Give me a 1 in that chat. Give me a 1 in that chat. Let me know. Let me see my UpGroup presence. Yeah, there we go. So UpGroup is, this is pretty much the marketing arm where we do all the marketing, the training. This is where a lot of the rewards plans kick in for a lot of the things that we do. And if you are a pro member, you actually get access to what's called, you can go to the system setup here, and you can get access to be able to go out there and give away coupons for metabolic design. We'll talk about that on another call. All right, but you can also participate in CareFree Now as a pro member. For our elite members that are getting these bonuses, if you're an elite member, you get access to all of this. Plus, you're able to go ahead and do a lot of other things like wholesaling metabolic design, getting those bonuses on CareFree Now. All right, it gets pretty insane, and actually drop shipping opportunities with CareFree Now and other products that we're loading in here. So that's how the system works. So if you're not an elite member, what I want you to do is click on your current membership up here. Go get an elite. If you guys are going to be doing CFN, and give me a yes in the chat if you're going all in on CFN with this. If you're going to be rocking this, because you're going to hear us talk a lot about CFN over the next couple of weeks. This is where our focus is shifting to, okay? We've done a lot of metabolic design. We've done a lot on UpGroup. You're going to see us talking all about CFN. If that's you and you want to go all in on this, and when I say all in, I mean be somebody who's earning not only an income from helping people get tested, but also getting out there and getting these bonuses. If that's you, if you want to do that, then that's what you want to do. You want to be an elite member by May 15th so you can get on these lists and we can celebrate you as well as someone who got the instant patient rebates with CFN. Those are $50 that come out of our pockets, guys. I want you to back up and I want you to understand how much we believe in this. These instant rebates, these instant patient rebates, guys, this is money that is coming that we're paying out before anything comes in, okay? So I just want you to understand how much we are committed to you getting success. We want you guys to succeed. We know that you can succeed. We know that you can grow this and save some lives. So yeah, that's where we're putting our money where our mouth is on this. All right, it's time to rock this thing out. So pretty excited. Now I want to do something too, unless Hitesh, unless you got something. I want to see if Dr. Rose is on here, because before we move into Q&A and kind of go through a lot of the questions that people have, we've talked a lot about, you guys have heard me talk about Dr. Rose quite a bit, right? If you guys have been on webinars with us, you've heard me talk about Dr. Rose quite a bit. And I want to see, I'm going to go ahead and hop in the Zoom admin area and see if Dr. Rose is on, and if I can go ahead and unmute him and just say hi. Look, he's got so much experience in this, and he works every day with labs. He's working every day and just doing so much for you guys behind the scenes. And I've never had the opportunity to bring him out and publicly thank him for all the work that he's doing behind the scenes. And so I'd like to do that. So Dr. Rose, if you're on.
Hey, how's everyone doing? Am I there?
We got you. We hear you. We hear you.
All right. No, it's a huge team effort here with you and Hitesh. I mean, it's just been truly amazing. I always say, you know, coming back from a background of being a chiropractor, helping people, and getting into hyperbarics and helping kids with autism and so forth like that, it's very gratifying. But honestly, to me, this is going to be the biggest thing ever. It's kind of when you start to know all this family and friends that have experienced cancer and things that could have been done potentially to detect it at earlier stages. To me, it's humbling to be able to have the opportunity to share this, and for just anyone. I mean, you don't have to have a healthcare license to be able to go share this to people and have a huge impact on their lives potentially. And so the group effort we got and everyone doing their thing, and I know at times it seems crazy, but I think most people have dealt with insurance companies and so forth and understand healthcare and Medicare and how it's constantly changing. And so we're having to change with it, and that's, like you said, we'll have to continue to make changes to make it so this is a long-term awesome program that the masses can come into, and we can reward all the amazing people that we have here that are actually passionate about it. Because like you said, it's more about being passionate about helping others than what you're making for the money, because even if you're making good money, you'll get burned out and tired of it. But if you're truly passionate about it and realize you got a purpose, and, you know, the whole philosophy of just sharing this with others and helping others, it can't get any better than that. So I'm just super excited that we're all here working together to make something so bigger than I think most of us even realize until you just give it a few more weeks, few more months, and it's just going to be like the world's going to hear about this. So I'm just super excited. So just glad to meet everyone here tonight.
Very cool. Thank you. It's yeah, you know, it's just amazing that that we can help people the way we are. And you said something that was very interesting, and every business owner that's been through ups and downs knows this. It doesn't matter, guys, how much money you make. Everybody who's growing an income online, no matter what business they have, there comes a point, okay, even if you're successful with something else, there seriously comes a point where if you're making money, there's no more incentive to do it, and you're not happy with it, and you don't know why. You don't understand why you're not happy with it. And it comes down to, are you doing something you're passionate about? And can you get gratification from that? Are you helping people? Because if it's just about the money, you're not going to do it long term. It's not going to happen. And this is something that you guys can be proud to share, something that you can be passionate about. And you cannot say that out for 90% of the things that you guys have probably done out there. So let me know if you guys agree with that. And what I'm going to do, one, thanks again, Dr. Rose, for hopping out here with us. And two,
awesome to be on.
Yeah, really appreciate it. Really appreciate it for them to hear from you. And two, I want to get into some Q&A with everybody and go ahead and answer some of the questions that they have. So I'm going to defer to Tesh on a lot of these, because he's typically the smartest guy in the room. So I want to get into some Q&A. I know you guys have a lot of questions on this stuff, and let's go ahead and kick it off.
I'm the only one sitting in my room right now, so that's a true statement. Couple of things though, guys, before we get into the Q&A. First of all, Dr. Rose is like the best person you're going to meet in your life.
Oh,
ever.
God, yeah.
Okay, it's not just the best doctor or the nicest CFO or whatever, like literally the best person that I know. Okay,
Oh, yeah.
and that's saying a lot because I also know my wife, I also know my kids, and I kind of know Kevin. And I'm telling you, he's the best person amongst them, amongst all of them. So that's one. But second, I do want to talk about very quickly a very important aspect of this, which is what is your responsibility in this entire process? Okay, because there is a very important responsibility. One, we don't want you to assume more things about yourself than you have to. CFN is designed for you to be completely hands-off. Your job should begin and end with bringing awareness to it, letting everybody you know about it, and that's it. We don't want you to help diagnose anything. Don't get into giving them medical advice necessarily and so on. Keep it focused on this is the platform. Leave it as the physician. Let the physician take care of everything else. Okay? This platform is designed to remove that liability from you. It's designed to remove that liability from everybody. So be careful with that. Second, don't go out and say everything in CFN is going to be free to you or that it is free, because these things are not free, right? None of this stuff in the background is actually free. It costs a lot of money to do this test. And that's why there's a process in this. And that's why we have to get paid by Medicaid on this or certain private insurances in certain cases, depending on what's being diagnosed. So you have to be careful what you say. What you can say is CareFree Now is a completely free platform that will help them see what they can get access to, and that these services are recommended to them at no cost. As in they can access them at no cost because their medical coverage will take care of the cost there. But be careful to not say that CGX itself is a free service, because it's not a free service. There's very defined medical criteria under which it is advised by physicians for it to be done. Okay? So just be careful about those two things. Other than that, go all out, tell everybody about it, get everybody on the platform itself. Okay? Now, in terms of some of the questions that I know are probably already on your mind, and then we will go into the very specific Q&A. First will be, what about conditions or cancers that are not listed in the back office right now? There's a reason for that. There are cancers that are not on that list because CGX does not necessarily help with those cancers. There are cancers, for example, that do not have a genetic factor to them. So it doesn't help for us to test somebody on the basis of that. It's only beneficial when there is an actual genetic reason behind it. So you will see that there are additional cancers or conditions that are added on there or removed from there as time goes on. And that happens as the testing itself evolves. We might have new cancers that we figure out have a certain genetic factor, and those will be added back in there. There might be some that will get removed as they realize that doesn't really have a relationship to it, or CGX necessarily is not a good predictor for it. Right? So all of those things, again, it's not for you to figure out. That's for the labs and the physicians and the researchers to figure out, and for our team to figure out with them. Next question is going to be, I can almost guarantee it, what is the time period? What is the time duration between when we refer a patient to when the whole process is completed? And after this, I'll actually start going through the questions that you guys have actually typed. So the process is from the moment a patient submits their entire information, it takes 2 to 3 days, business days, for the QIR process, which is the quality process or review process, to be completed. Once that process is completed, that's when elite members also get paid. So you could technically see the pending balance of $50 in your account in 3 to 4 days of when you refer a patient. Okay, it can be as quickly as that. Then comes the physician consult, which usually takes 2 to 3 additional business days, and that just depends on, when the first time physician's office calls, if the patient is available right then and there, it gets done immediately. Otherwise, they might go back and forth, and they might schedule a time with each other, so that can be 2 to 3 days out. We have seen it always be less than 5 business days. From that moment on, the kit is sent out. That takes about 3 to 5 days, and it might be useful for me to have my screen share on for this part, so you're not able to see it visually. Please let me know if you can see this. And then you have this process right here. So you have 2 to 3 days here, 2 to 3 days here, roughly a week from the moment the kit is sent out to them. They swab it, they send it back. and then about 2 weeks from the moment the swab is received there. Okay, so we are looking at about a 4-week process entirely, everything included. We're looking at a 4-week process for the CGX testing to be completed and posted in the account, and we're looking at the QIR and this $50 bonus being posted roughly 3 to 4 days in. Okay, so this is a very good thing also, because you can actually build your business and be very profitable from a business perspective just on this one portion right here, right? Before anything else happens, you could just be focusing on this and do quite well, because you're literally giving away life-saving services at zero cost to them, and you're getting paid $50 up front right here, and then you're getting an additional $300 here and the additional $200 for PGX or whatever other services they might qualify for. Okay, so is all of this clear? And Kevin, if you've been keeping an eye on the questions, I'm assuming that these were 2 of the big questions and they've been addressed.
Yes, those are huge. We get those quite often, so I'm glad you're going over that.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so let's. I'm going to actually look at the questions now and start answering some of them.
Real quick,
Okay.
I'm just going to share my screen. I've got some questions queued up for you. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the screen share one more time. That way everyone can see these questions as we go into order, and then we can hop back in that chat again. But I just want to go ahead and go through a couple of these. So let me share my screen one more time, and I will show you these questions. And for those of you who are typing in the chat, I've got some of these already queued up that I see them in there as well. So they're lengthy, some of them, but these are this is a couple that have been asked in the Facebook group that were very lengthy. So I just want you to take a look at them and see if we can answer them.
Okay, this is the UHC notice. Okay, so to clarify, I'm very familiar with this notice. So this is actually one of the big reasons why we are the only ones still here, and why everybody else is jumping out of this space and have to, because there is a lot of fraud that happens because of this. So let me explain what triggered this and where this comes from. You had a lot of people who were going around claiming that they could provide CGX services, and they would literally ask, in most cases, elderly patients for their ID, their photo ID. They would basically take pictures of their photo IDs, take a swab from them, and go their merry way. You can imagine the insane amounts of liability that's involved in that. You have no HIPAA compliance. You have massive consumer identity fraud that's happening. You have healthcare fraud that's going on. And in many cases, it was the actual insurance company agents who were selling the data or selling the lists, or were actually going out and doing this to receive some extra money. That's what this all relates to. It has absolutely nothing to do with a platform like ours. CFN never takes any data from the patient. We don't have anybody who calls and says, hey, can you send me a picture of your driver's license or something? We don't do that. All of that is within the platform. It's all between the patient and the doctor. And that's actually why we are pretty much the standard now, because we have many of these labs and many of these physicians, many of the teledoc services are actually coming to us, looking at our platform and saying, guys, this is how we want it to be done. Can we integrate with you? And we are kicking other people off of our platform. We are not working with other companies. We're not working with standard call centers anymore. We want to work with a platform like this, where the data is only between the patient and the physician, and that's it. Okay, so this is a very good sales pitch more than anything else. It's not a concern for us. This is a sales pitch for why CFN is so great and why this is the future of healthcare.
Awesome. So I'm going to show you another one. And this is from Rhonda Johnson, by the way, so thank you, Rhonda.
Again, keep in mind, guys, nobody's asking you to go out and specifically promote or swab patients or anything of the sort. All you are doing is telling your contacts, whatever space they may be from, whether they are your business contacts or personal contacts, you're literally just telling them, here is a free platform, create your account on there, you can submit your information, and it will figure out what services you will benefit from. This is exactly what these companies are warning against. They're warning against people who are going out there pretending, in some cases, literally pretending to be actual medical agents. They literally put on a white lab coat and go to people's doors and knock on their doors and get a swab from them. That's the kind of stuff that is being warned about here. And oftentimes they show up at marketing events. So for example, there'll be an event set up by Medicare for their patients, and Medicare patients are coming in, and these guys will be there with a booth. in many cases misleading what they can actually cover or not cover, what they can help with, what they can't help with, and none of them are physicians. There's no approval process, there's no prescribing process, none of that. So again, huge giant advertisement for why CFN is the way to go. If you guys are going to be at any of these kind of events, or you're going to be at health screening events and things like that, you can be there, and all you should be saying is, look, all of these people here, none of these are physicians. You should be going on this free platform, creating a free account, and there are a host of services beyond what you see here that you might qualify for. Let the free platform tell you about it, and you can discuss that with your physician. That's it. Okay? So hopefully that also addresses this United Healthcare notification is not for a system like CFN at all.
So, yep, here's another one, the United Healthcare Producer Agreement and Policies under United Healthcare. Yep. So,
all in the same thing.
Okay.
If you want me to, I can repeat the whole thing again, but I don't think people want me to do that.
Good. Anti-kickback laws.
Yes, very important. So let me clarify what anti-kickback law really pertains to. What it specifically pertains to is the fact that no patient should ever be recommended a service or a medication or anything like that based on somebody receiving money for it. Okay? This is one of the big reasons why we don't want any up-group agents' involvement in actually recommending the specific tests. See, it doesn't matter how hard you sell your aunt or uncle or your cousin on getting genetic screening. If they create a CFN account and they don't qualify, they don't qualify. The physician is not going to approve or disapprove it based on a specific kickback being paid to someone. That's why UpGroup exists as a completely separate entity from CFN. So if you look at the patient's process, there is no kickback involved anywhere in the process. CFN doesn't get paid on the basis of kickbacks. CFN doesn't get paid if we do more tests or less tests. And the same thing with labs and physicians involved. A physician who recommends the test based on the patient's data does not get paid anything when they get that test. So if anybody asks you about, is CFN anti-kickback compliant? Absolutely. None of our physicians get paid a kickback for any services they recommend. CFN doesn't get paid a kickback for services that it recommends. And it's completely clean and clear from what this law is designed to protect against, which we agree should be something you protect against.
Very cool. Also, this one comes from Steve, who is live on the call right now.
All right. So Steve, I actually saw your question before Kevin took the screen. So let me just clarify right now. We have, I believe, 1,400 physicians in one network. We have 2,800 physicians on a second network. No, actually 1,600 and 2,800 physicians on two different networks. And that volume is not an issue for us at all. And in fact, we can oftentimes also do matches where the physician that is calling into the patient is actually calling from certain state guidelines, because different states have different guidelines. There are states where you cannot have an out-of-state doctor call in. And in those scenarios, a doctor from within the state is going to call in and so on. Okay, so all of these things are thought out and being taken care of in the background.
Very cool. Okay, so now we'll hit the chat, guys. If you guys have any more questions, let's hop on the chat and see what we get. I'm going to go through some of these and see what else we have in here. Norman asks, are we ready for the masses?
I think as demonstrated, yes. We are ready for the masses, but I want you guys to be aware, this is the healthcare space. There are processes in the background which are still manual processes, because there are people involved who actually have to review this information, have to actually approve the information, right? So this isn't a scenario of let's press a few buttons and everything is done. We are automating it as much as possible, and that's one of the key things, right? We are bringing a very different view to how healthcare should be done. But there are certain limitations in the background. Okay, so if 1 million people tomorrow sign up for CFN, there would be a long, giant queue for all of them to actually get their testing done. Okay, but obviously that's not realistic. Within realistic numbers, we expect very much that any numbers that we could put on there right now, we can handle quite easily, that our background teams can handle, the physician services can handle that, the labs that we have contracted can handle that. As we add more and more of them on, it kind of happens synergistically, right? So as we add more patients on, additional opportunities also become available to us. Networks that were previously too big for us suddenly look at us and say, oh, you have more than enough patient volume for us to actually integrate with you as well. So all of that kind of just happens over time.
We got Irene's question. Says the drop down in CFN intake regarding insurance carriers has more than Medicare. So why are they listed when Kevin just said to the question who qualifies?
Because right now we are focusing on CGX. CGX specifically is for Medicare recipients. You also have some additional services that CFN has built into it. You have many, many other services. And keep in mind, the plan, guys, is over the next 12 months, we're going to roll out a ton more services, including medication shipment right to their door, scheduled diabetic supplies, things like that, right? All of those will be applicable for people on multiple private insurance carriers, not just on Medicare. So you might be able to refer a lot of patients. Let's say you refer 100 patients in today, 20 of them, statistically, roughly 20 of them will be Medicare patients, right? All of them can qualify for CGX right now. The other 80 may not qualify for CGX. Even if they have some history of cancer, they might not qualify for CGX, but they might qualify for a bunch of other things that would help them manage things related to their medical history. So that's why we give them so many options and why we are tailoring all of this around it. One of the other reasons why we give them all these options is, and this is a long shot, okay, but this is how all ideas have to be executed. Let's say that we have 5,000 patients in here over time on one particular specific insurance. And let's say that we look at that data and our data says, and this is where, all the AI stuff kind of starts playing into it. Our system says roughly 2,000 of these 5,000 patients would benefit from a CGX test. We might be able to detect certain cancer or propensity for certain cancers now and prevent that. Guess what that lets us do? It lets us go to that insurance carrier and say, we have 2,000 of your subscribers who are at risk and we can help prevent that cancer from occurring in them. Why don't you approve CGX for them? And we might be able to negotiate something where they'll start covering that. That's one of the other reasons why we are accepting every insurance that's out there, just so we can build up that database that gives us the ability to go and then negotiate these things on a patient's behalf. Same thing, guys, that Amazon had to do, right? There was a time when nobody would even look at Amazon twice, but then eventually they got big enough, they could negotiate a special rate with UPS, then a special rate with USPS, then a special rate with different cities and states for their employees, and that's what we'll be able to do eventually as well. Okay, so somebody had a question about, they got confused because you just said CGX is not free. Yes, so what I mean is the word free has very tricky connotations. Free means it's something that doesn't cost anything. But in reality, a CGX process does cost something. Like the CGX test does cost. It's just a cost that's paid by your insurance, right? There's a big difference between the two. So we need to be careful to not say CGX is a test that's free. CGX as a test is not free. It's paid for by Medicare. CFN as a platform is free. We pay for it on your behalf. You never have a cost to it, right? But there is a cost in the background for CGX. So you have to be careful, because if you start saying, here's a free test that you should go get, then you will have a lot of people applying for it that do not actually qualify. Now, again, with our platform, that's not truly an issue, but it is a Medicare compliance and a regulation from them. So it's a Medicare compliance regulation that they have put out saying, don't claim that this is free. So we're just letting you guys know, don't go out and say CGX is a free test. What you can say is CFN is a free platform that can get you CGX testing at no cost. It's just semantics. I understand, but that's unfortunately how many laws work.
When will the app be ready?
We actually, I keep telling you guys, we have the app, we want to release it, but every time we're close to releasing it, there are changes that we have had to make in the flow. For example, if any of you, I know many of you have actually followed this whole process long, you'll remember just last week, we had 6 pages in preventative care before somebody got approved, right? Before somebody could actually submit all of their information. Now we have it down to 1 page. That's a huge leap forward. That means we now also have to change our app. And I could literally show you guys, obviously I can't because of all sorts of security reasons, but I could actually open my Skype chat right now. I was literally downloading the updated APK for me to test with while we were on this webinar, while Kevin was talking. So It's there, guys. It's going to come all in its good time. We are very, very close to it, honestly closer than you think. However, keep in mind that this site is entirely mobile compliant. So you could actually just send somebody to the website with your UpGroup link on their mobile device, and they'll be able to sign up and do all of the process there.
Great question. How are people notified after they're qualified by CFN?
Two ways. They receive an email and they receive a phone call from the physician's office. Okay. So first they will receive an email from us saying, hey, your QIR status has been approved. You have passed the QIR process, which means next you will receive a call from the physician. And when the physician calls them up, they will actually leave a voicemail with a callback number. If they aren't able to get a hold of if they're not able to get a hold of the patient, they will actually leave a callback number for the patient. Okay, so both of those things will happen.
Do we accept HMOs?
We do accept HMOs. They're available back there, but not for CGX. CGX is specifically Medicare only. And again, I have to qualify all of that by saying for now. All of this is going to change, guys. Things will be different 2 weeks from now. Things are different today than they were 2 weeks ago. So this is going to keep changing.
All right. I think this is going to be the answer to this is pretty nice. The question is, when will we be ready to launch, and where is the timeline given here is accurate? So what's the timeline for launching?
Okay.
Now.
Let me answer that. Kevin just showed you guys people who have already been paid now, right? So the qualification for a launch would be to have a working product, a system that is in place, patients who are actually being served, and agents who have been paid. And I think we have checked all those boxes. So I think we are very much live.
This is a good question from John. Very, very timely. He says there were some comments in the group about phone calls that were scheduled and didn't come from the doctor. Is this likely to happen?
No. Let me clarify what that was. So this is one of the reasons why we had to change our flow so much and why we actually revised it. So let me actually see if I can put my screen share on again, just to answer this one piece. Okay. So guys, you see this particular flow, right? So this is the background flow. What we did during patient registration was we gave patients the option to actually define a preferred time for call. Okay, so we basically said during the registration process itself, what time and date would you prefer for a physician to call you, right? And they specified that time. Now, all we could do was pass that time over to the physician after they completed the QIR, right? So after the QIR is completed, we would send to the physician and say, oh, this is, by the way, the preferred time for this particular patient, okay? Now, the problem with that whole thing is, in many cases, that time that they preferred was before the QIR is even completed. And in some cases, their preferred time doesn't match up with the physicians. So the new process that we came up with after a lot of discussions with the teledoc providers and so on, the new process we came up with is that once the QIR is completed, the physician will literally call the patient and leave a callback number where they can call and schedule a time from that moment on. So to not confuse people anymore, instead of giving them a preferred time to call here, we give them a preferred time to call here. Okay? So that kind of resolves that whole issue. Also, we had many patients who went through the process and they set up a preferred time for call, but there were things missing in their profile that we needed to have before we could actually schedule. So in those cases, we had to send them a second email saying, hey, there are certain fields here that have been left empty. For example, ethnicity. It's been left empty. We need you to actually fill that out before we can move on to the next process. However, that now changes the date that would be even possible for them, right? Because this date here was based on the first time they filled out the form, not the second time. So to avoid all that confusion and to make sure none of that happens, now we don't even ask them for a preferred date and time. We give them the option for preferred date and time after they pass the QIR process. Okay, and that way you guys don't have to worry about my referred patient is waiting for a call, what's going to happen there. And also, by the way, that means you actually get paid as an elite member before a physician consult even happens. Okay, so from all perspectives, that's a much better solution for everyone. Okay, Kevin, you can take the screen back, please.
Well, real quick, I just want to go to one more question. So Karen says, and this is very timely for this question, and she says, hey, many folks like me don't answer unknown numbers.
That is perfectly fine. There's two things. One, in the email that you receive post QIR. Once you pass the QIR, the email that you receive actually tells you you will receive a phone call from blank phone number. It'll give you the area code of the phone number that you're going to get the call from. Okay, so you will know that that number is likely there. Secondly, you don't have to answer the call because they will leave a message for you on that call saying, hey, this is us calling from, the Teledoc service for your CGX testing. Please call us back at this phone number. Typically, you will get the QIR email within 2 to 3 days because once you pass the QIR process, that's when you'll get that email.
Very cool. Very cool. And Steve says, hey, it sounds like there's a lot of guidelines that we have. How will we be able to regulate UpGroup members that are following the guide, make sure they're following the guidelines? For example, stating free to the patients, etc.
If we find you, we will catch you. We will come and find you. And things will not, I'm kidding. Look, obviously from our side, one thing that we can do is we can enforce a lot of guidelines. But look, the beauty of the CFN platform is we want to disassociate the process of marketing from the actual patient healthcare, right? By removing the two from each other, you actually remove a lot of the compliance issues as well. Okay, because then you know that the patient wasn't falsely misled into something. Because no matter how badly you advertise, the patient isn't going to get recommended a certain service because of your advertisement, right? Maybe you're advertising out there, take the CGX test and you will never get cancer again. Okay, let's say you were advertising that, which we know is false, right? Everybody knows on here it's false. For the record of anybody who might be listening, that statement is false. But if you did that, that doesn't mean that a patient is going to magically get approved for CGX because our physicians, our system, the automated QIR, none of them will approve the patient because of what you said. Okay, so that's the first giant barrier. That's the biggest thing that prevents any of those big liabilities. Secondly, when we find UpGroup agents who are misrepresenting or are making false statements, we correct them, and on failure to not be corrected, they will be terminated because there is no other way around it. We have to keep this system very almost sacredly protected.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. Will CFN provide a callback number for seniors that doesn't have a cell phone and screen calls? See, the gist of this question is really that there's a lot of seniors out there that are going to need help, guys. So if you're working with a senior and they're close to you, help them through the process as much as you possibly can. Okay. My potential customer is 65 to 80. Many do not use the internet or have a smartphone. Can I use my laptop to help them under my email address? If not, is there something to consider?
There's a very simple way around it. If you are using your laptop and you're sitting next to them, just simply create a new email account for them. Create a new email address on Gmail for them, create a new CFN account for them, and put all their information in. What we don't want happening is that you create an account that is yours, you put in your information, but their symptoms. Because now that's not going to match up. When the QIR does the analysis, it's going to find out, it's going to realize that you don't match up to the actual person who is on that particular Medicare account. So what you want to do is create a new CFN account for that patient, have their information put into that account, and you're perfectly fine. Okay, there's no issue with that. And it adds maybe 12 seconds to your working time.
And when are we going to update the actual report in the back office of UpGroup? And what is it going to reflect now that we're done with all the
Right. So now the UpGroup back office is going to only reflect these statuses. It's going to reflect whether or not the QIR is passed, which we call a verified status. So you will see registered, then you will see verified, and then you will see completed or denied. Okay. Completed means that you receive the full 350 or 550, right, if they did both CGX and PGX. And you will see denied if they were denied for whatever reason.
Very cool. So Jerome asks, hey, will we be able to enroll a company that has a medical staff at their workplace to push CGX and PGX screening for their employees?
Yes, you absolutely can. There is no problem with that at all. In fact, what we recommend is at many pharmacies, and this is a very simple idea for you guys, if you know pharmacies or you know medical practices, you know chiropractors and so on, you can simply take postcards or you can take little brochures and you can leave them there for them, and they can actually have patients create their account on CareFree Now right then and there. So that's also absolutely doable. That's not a problem. There's only one condition that plays into that whole thing, which is a doctor, the actual physician, is limited by what's called the start clause. They are not allowed to earn commissions on any medical services, but they are allowed to earn on referring patients into a platform. So there are solutions for them as well. We will be coming out with a specific physician version of CFN. It's roughly 90 days out for now, but then you'll actually be able to go and sign up actual physicians and say, hey, doctor, whoever, you can refer your patients into this particular platform. So we'll be looking at that as well. There are many other things that are coming out, but just as a warning, don't fall into the trap of, oh, that sounds great, I'll start doing this when that new feature comes out. Right now, you already have the most amazing thing that exists in the healthcare space or in the direct sales space, right? You are able to go and give something away that saves people's lives and pays you an insane amount of money. Don't wait for these future things that we are talking about.
Very cool. And we kind of answered this one a little bit roundabout, but I just want to address it one more time. Larry says, hey, look, I've been warned about the CGX process. Medical insurance carriers cannot refuse coverage. However, life insurance carriers can refuse based on CGX information.
Yes, that is correct. There are certain life insurance carriers that can, but that's not based on this type of a CGX test. So to clarify, there are people who have certain medical complications that have happened in the past, right? And based on that, life insurance might say, well, you had this cancer and you had certain tests done that show that you have a high risk of possibly, not surviving. That's why we'll refuse you life insurance, or you'll have very high premiums, things like that. That has nothing to do with this type of a CGX test. As far as I'm aware, this particular CGX test, which is a propensity test for genetic factors, is not something that life insurance companies can access unless you provide it to them on purpose. And secondly, they can actually use to say you have a pre-existing condition or a natural condition. So they are two different things entirely. Also, this does not affect your medical premiums or your medical insurance at all. Now, I anticipate that 5 years from now, it probably will. Okay, it would make sense to me that 5 to 10 years from now, when your personal genetic information is a very basic thing, it'll probably start affecting that in the future. But for now, it doesn't.
Very cool. So Nancy says, hey, look, if patient tests come back with cancer markers, do they get consulted? Like, what's the process there?
Yes, so let me clarify. First of all, they don't come back with cancer markers. Okay, so let's talk about the difference between the two really quickly. Cancer markers are that you have cancer, and that cancer is visible in your bloodstream or in your tissue samples, like, so-and-so, due to these certain markers. Okay, that's called markers. That means you actually have cancer. What CGX is testing is whether or not you have certain mutations that make it likely for you to get certain cancers. So let's say that the test comes back and it says you do have those mutations. Then the doctor is going to advise the patient to go and get a test done for that particular cancer, because they might have had it and not known it. And now they can catch it way before any other test would have caught it, way before there are even any symptoms. Or secondly, it'll come back and say you have these mutations, you have a particular propensity to a certain type of cancer. Therefore, you should avoid these certain things more than others. Therefore, you should watch your weight maybe more than others. Maybe you should watch hormonal treatments more than others. Maybe you should avoid certain type of jobs more than others. So it can help you avoid certain lifestyle choices that would give you a very high incidence of that particular cancer. Okay, so that's what CGX is actually for.
Yep, and Dr. Kastari just commented on this, by the way. Said CGX is just a detection of a mutation gene. A positive result is not indicative of having cancer. It is only a tendency. So thanks for tossing that in there. Appreciate it. As far as funnels are concerned, Karen says some company Kevin will have some super duper marketing strategy / campaign that we can target people who are within the ranges of 65 to 79. Is that correct? Yes, we will, but guys, don't wait on me for anything. Like Atesh said, you never want to wait on anything, right? Marketing funnels and all that stuff are fine and dandy, but I would do a couple of things. One, anyone that you've sent through the system already, I'd have them go back again and go through the system again, because we have made changes. So if you guys sent somebody through a month ago or 2 weeks ago, or things have changed quite a bit. Streamlined, yes. Easier, yes. But a couple questions might be in there that we need them to go ahead and answer. So I would go through and have them go through that one more time. It's worth it. It's worth it to take the time out of your day to do that if you have people in there, okay? That's where I would start. I would start by taking folks that you already have in there and have them go through again, or people that are close to you, have them go through it again. Call them up, get on the phone, let them know, email them, whatever you got to do to get them to go through again. It is worth it to get them tested, potentially save their lives, and you make money doing it. That's a money-making activity. That's an MMA, as we talk about in Elite, guys.
Guys, one of the things that blows my mind is there are people out there in the direct sales space that are currently making crazy amounts of money because they have, networks of 20, 30, 50,000 people who are selling plastic containers to each other, or they're selling makeup to each other they don't even need, or they're selling, overpriced whatever. And here you have something that is truly the most intimate network thing that exists. Saying to somebody, hey, I remember your brother had XYZ. I think you should really go set up a free account on this platform to help, screen you for that or prevent that, is a very simple activity. It's very well suited for direct sales. It's very well suited for word of mouth, communication. And you really shouldn't be thinking in terms of cold market and how many cold market old people can I get in here. Of course we can do that, right? Of course you can do that, and we'll talk about it. But if your focus begins with the actual people, yeah, I know these people and they have these particular, instances of cancer in their family or so on, you can just go talk to them and your network will start growing automatically. You really do not need to be stressing about how will I get 5,000 people in here. This is a very natural progression. You start talking to some people and then they all start referring each other in there. Where even if they're not approved agents, they will start building a network for you regardless. Okay, Darcy has a very important question. How do you know that this testing is not being used by the government against us? Okay, so a few different ways, but my first thing would be if the government was using CGX testing against people, then there is probably nothing that they couldn't use against people. This would be the most inefficient thing to go after because you're targeting people who already have propensity to certain negative things. So I would rate this on my likelihood of conspiracy theory meter in the lower 10%. So let's look at the next one.
I'd like to see a graphic of your conspiracy theory meter, by the way.
I actually do have one. It's right here next to me. Every time I look at a conspiracy theory on the internet, I actually glance at my chart, kind of figure out where I would place it between the hoax of moon landing versus the government is actually run by aliens and stuff. I actually kind of place everything there.
NVIDIA debunked that moon landing conspiracy, by the way. All right. So is it possible to send out an update email to people on CFN, that patients who have already gone through maybe a week ago, 2 weeks ago?
Yes, we can. We actually did already send one, but we will gladly send another one. We will, send them a few different times. We actually try to send one out every time there is a significant change in the flow. So there is one new one that we will be sending out day after tomorrow anyway. But again, if you have patients you have referred in, please contact them and walk them through it yourself as well.
Yep. The biggest thing for me, guys, is contact, right? Again, from a marketing perspective, if you're going out there and starting something and selling something, the first thing that I do, we have big lists, but the first thing we still do is we make direct contact with people, right? You make a list of 10, 20, 30 people for the home-based business side. Make that list of 10, 20, 30 people that you want in here, that you've worked with before, you want to work with them, and pick up the phone and call them. They'll hear the excitement in your voice and they'll get excited, okay? Direct is the best. Absolutely, Karen. Absolutely. And PGX is on its way too, guys. Right now we're discussing CGX because this is the, yeah. Go for CGX first. We'll be getting into more on PGX, and you guys will see this thing evolve over the next. Like I said, this isn't a sprint. This is a marathon. But what you want to do is start going after folks that qualify for that that CGX, and send anybody through the system. You can send anybody through because there are other ways to make money. We just so happen to be focused on CGX right now because this, for a lot of you, is going to be the fastest path. Remember what I said. How many people are out there covered by Medicare that we know of, right? I hear people say on the calls sometimes, oh, but Kevin, this is just for Medicare. Yes, yes, yes. Guys, that's 15% of the population, right? 15%. Everyone on this call knows somebody who qualifies for this, guaranteed. Everybody. And if you don't, then you know someone who does, right? Go through them. Doesn't have to be someone that's a direct contact of yours, okay? I mean, that 30% says my boy Norm. All right, any other, what do we got for questions?
There's another question from Steve.
Okay.
Is it correct to say that 20% of those who fill out the form on CFN qualify through QIR? Actually, no, it's significantly higher. So remember that our form already does a pretty good job on first pass of figuring out whether or not somebody will qualify, right? So if somebody fills out and says they don't really have any family history or personal history, or they don't have Medicare, or maybe they're not in the right age bracket, or what have you, if they have said that, then the system already knows they will likely not pass the QIR anyway. So they will actually not be pushed through the QIR. It will just tell them right then and there, hey, no, this isn't going to be relevant to you, right? CGX is not your thing. So of the people who fill out the form, the ones that are passed to QIR, the ones who actually do fill out the CGX thing, of them, we're currently seeing upwards of 90% actually passing the QIR itself, which again is a very good testament to how the system has been done. It's doing a pretty good job right now of immediately figuring out when somebody will not qualify. Honestly, the biggest cases that we see of failure on the QIR point are people who have put in wrong information for Medicaid itself, or when they're like fraudulent accounts where somebody puts in their information with their cancer details, but it's somebody else's insurance coverage and stuff. That's the only cases that we see actually failing there. Can this be done with someone who has Medicaid as a secondary insurance? Yes, it can also be done with somebody who has Medicaid as a secondary. That is also fine. That's why we give you the option of defining your primary and your secondary insurances. Do Medicare Advantage plans qualify? Certain types do. Okay, so this is very tricky. And I hate answering specific questions about a specific type of insurance because that's always changing, right? Some do. So the only thing I can say is once they actually enter their information, when they put in the specific subscriber ID and the patient ID and all that stuff, then the system can figure out whether or not they really qualify. I cannot really answer that, point blank and say, yes, everybody on this particular insurance does. Are any other screenings on the drawing board? Yes, but we don't want to talk about that because there's no point to talk about that right now, right? That's not a money-making activity. So since you want to focus on MMA, we're going to focus on the fact that CGX right now is the highest paying, the fastest paying, the most important, and honestly, in my opinion, has the greatest impact on people's lives right now. From a personal perspective as well as from the perspective of this is a big thing for people whose family members have gone through it. It's something that really quickly motivates them to action. So I would really suggest focusing just on this right now and not worry about what's coming in the future.
And just to piggyback on that, when people go through CFN and they start filling it out, if you have, let's say you sent 20 people through and 10 qualified for CGX, great. It's not like that in 6 months from now, we're not going to follow up. When the PGX is all the rage, those guys will, everyone you send through, guys, if they, whatever they qualify for, they're going to start getting communications from the system saying, hey, this is ready for you. Hey, go do this. Hey, check. So make sure you just put people through, all right? Focus on CGX, but get people into this system because this is something they'll qualify for stuff down the road as well. Things that we're not even talking about right now, okay?
And Marty just said, please hurry with the PGX since ADR deaths are rising. Very well aware of that statistic, and absolutely we are working on it. We have actually completed all of the work on our side on it. We're actually just figuring out some of the background legals and the background flow. That's it. From our side, from the tech side and all that stuff, we are 99% ready. I shouldn't even say 90. We're actually 100% ready with that. We're just waiting on some things. That's all. Can a patient self-pay? So Maggie, not for CGX. There are some other things for which we will allow self-pay options. There are certain other things, for example, there might be co-insurance on, and there are certain programs where even the co-insurance can be taken care of, or the co-pay can be taken care of, sorry. So there will be other things where self-pay will be allowed, and there are significant things that we'll be adding back there that will be self-pay only as well. But they are, cutting edge things that will be really helpful for certain type of people, but they can't really go out there and just get them anywhere else. So we're looking at all of that stuff. If I'm promoting CFN by email, can I, in the same email, invite them to register for CFN and also tell them they can get paid by introducing others? Yes, you can. There's not a problem with that, as long as you don't do what's called incentivizing, which our system already does not allow. That means you cannot refer yourself, and you cannot tell somebody, hey, sign up for Up Group and then refer yourself to CFN. That's not allowed. You cannot refer yourself into CFN. That falls under incentivization, which is strictly prohibited by Medicare. Now, again, to keep in mind, the way our system works, even with incentivizing, you can't really force yourself to get medical services that you don't truly benefit or qualify for, because our system won't let you. So a lot of these Medicare guidelines and general guidelines are designed for the current healthcare. They're not built for a platform like CFN. So even then we are safe, but that falls in incentivization, so that's not allowed. But you can talk about it, absolutely. Do you have to have insurance to create a CFN account? No, you don't. You can actually have no insurance at all. You can say, I only want to do self-pay, and then there are certain services that are only beneficial for self-pay that will be recommended to you. Can we do health fairs at assisted living locations? Absolutely, you can. Again, as long as you stick to the script, which is, there's not really a script to stick with, but as long as you stick with the idea that create your free account on CFN and let the platform figure everything else out, you're perfectly fine. What we don't want you doing is setting up health fair events or something and then talking to these patients and saying, oh, by the way, here's a cotton swab. Why don't you just swab your cheek right now and I'll take it home in a Ziploc baggie. That's the kind of stuff that gets people in trouble, as it should, right? So that's what we want to avoid. At what point will we see the deposit for CGX testing? So the people that Kevin just talked about and anybody else who's already qualified, they'll already see that in their back office. They'll see that as pending. Unless they are at pro level, they'll receive an email which will tell them, hey, you're at pro, you have until May 15th to become elite members, right? So that's already happening. You will see the full amounts when it is completed, which is this completed status, which, like I said, the whole journey takes about 4 weeks.
By the way, Felix just went elite.
Awesome. Well, it makes sense, right? This is the beautiful thing right now, guys. So we're not standing here going, go buy elite because you need that to meet your volume requirements so you can qualify for the next rank. It's none of that nonsense, okay? This is a very, very simple, straightforward thing. You should get elite because it is genuinely a better service for you because it covers your cost of kit and it covers the cost of administration of the swab. That means you're getting $50 back and you're getting it paid up front. It's just a no-brainer. Yes, Marty, I'm sorry if I did not address this before because I know 2 other people had asked this. This $50 is specifically for the swab and the kit. That means this is paid to you regardless of whether they succeed or fail, regardless of whether their test is denied or not. Okay, so as long as they pass QIR, you receive the $50. If after this, they don't get all the way to the end, maybe they don't send the kit back in or whatever, you're still getting the 50. Okay, Galaxy J7, which might just be the name of your phone. I don't think that's your actual name. I'm in Nigeria. Is CGX offered here? Unfortunately, no. CGX testing, this is a Medicare service, which means it is only available to US citizens. Can we state sign up for a free platform and access screening at zero cost to you? Absolutely. That is exactly what the message is. So only Pro gets $50 deducted at the end. Well, both technically get 50 deducted, but Elite gets that 50 back in the form of a rebate early on, right? So this is the cost of kit and administration. So just so you guys remember, if you were not here in the beginning, the way the program worked originally was you sent a patient in. Once the patient filled out the form, you bought the kit on the patient's behalf, and then you sent the kit to them, and then you kind of followed through the entire process. Now, we found pretty significant concerns there because that means we are putting the liability on you, and that's an issue from many different factors, right? HIPAA side, we don't know whether or not you're swabbing properly. We don't know whether or not you're swabbing the right people. And just from a lot of different things as well, it also puts the cost on you. It also puts the work on you. So instead now, kits are not something that you can just purchase and go swab your neighbors. Now, instead, kits are sent directly to the patient from the physician, and that keeps the whole process very clean. Will we get paid the overrides from the fee? Yes, you will actually get overrides or the check matches on that as well, but only when they move from pending to approved. So the moment they move to approved, you will see that $50 override, the 10% check match, which will be $5. You will see that show up in your back office as well. So Angela, just to clarify, anybody can, as long as it is not you yourself. Anybody can sign up with your link as long as it's not you. Your spouse is fine as well. Will we have access to our clients' information? No, all you will have is one little piece that will show you their name and email. That's it. We're not going to show you any of their data. You're not going to get to see the patient's data, right? I mean, obviously, you don't want to refer somebody, or you don't want to be referred to CFN, and now suddenly the person who referred you, that might be a neighbor, gets to see all your medical history. You know, that's not something you want to do. So no, you won't see any of the information. You will only see the name and email of the person you referred. When you see the pre-qualified, that pre-qualified is no longer relevant. You will actually see tomorrow, it'll disappear. That whole section called steps will disappear because those steps were relevant in the previous flow where you had to buy the kit for the patient, but you don't have to buy the kit for the patient anymore. So pre-qualification doesn't mean anything. Now it's just going to be 4 statuses. It's going to be registered, verified, completed, or denied. Okay. All right, guys. Now, we've had a pretty decent Q&A session, I think. And Kevin has the Facebook thing up. So I think Kevin wants to say something and get people excited, which is what he does well.
I'm just excited, man. This is really good. I think this has been a long one, but we're on like an hour and 26 minutes in. But if you guys are watching this, I'm going to post this replay in the group, and I'm going to post it on a page, and I'll link to the page in the group so you guys can share it out there publicly. If you're watching this, this is live in our Facebook group. If you're not in Up Group and you're not building this thing, you're just missing out. If somebody sends you this recording on a page, there's going to be a button below to get started with Up Group. Get started with Up Group. These are the people that are going to help you, and these are the people that are rocking this thing out. I know it's been a long one, but if you're watching this replay and you made it to the end of this, then there's no reason why you're not changing your life, changing other people's lives, and being a part of Up Group and CFN and what we're doing here. This is just the very beginning of what we're doing, and it's game time, guys. No matter what you're building, if you're in another company, if you're in another MLM, throw it away. Don't care. Get rid of it. You're typically in something that does not have a cost offset model, that you literally have to bring someone in, they have to enroll, they have to lose money in order for you to make a check. That is not sustainable. Get out of it. Stop it. People are growing an income here by sharing something. Money is coming in from an outside source, which means that you are not in a position where you have to fleece your friends and family in order to get a check. All right? There was a question in here earlier, I think it was either today or yesterday. It was, is this a pyramid scheme? No. What you're doing right now is a pyramid scheme. This is a flywheel. It just keeps on building and growing, and you're changing lives doing it. So I'm just going to let this go, Hitesh. I think we'll wrap it up. I'm going to get this recording up as soon as humanly possible for everybody, and it's game time. For those of you who are in CFN, contact the folks that you have in the system already. Get them in there. Start sharing your links in CFN. They're right in your back office. And yeah, I'll see you guys on the next webinar. We're having this upcoming webinar on Tuesday. We got our pro and our elite webinars on Tuesday. I'll see you guys there. We have our first commission webinar, which is going to be geared towards first commission. But it's game time, guys. Get in, get involved. If you're not inside of UpGroup, get in UpGroup. If you're in UpGroup, it's time for you to scale your businesses. And that's all I got to say, my man.
Well, that was very well said. And thank you all for being on here. And we will see you on the next webinar.
Night, everybody.